Hello and welcome back to Crypto Saving Experts, where we talk about the latest cryptocurrency news and take a look at the markets so that we all know exactly what is happening. My name is Jess and we do these live streams every single weekday. So if you are new here, please don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell notification button. Make it one of your New Year's resolutions that you tune in here every single weekday. We go live between 11 to 12 a.m. UK time, where we discuss what's happening in the markets. We've got some big news coming in the next week or so, where we are going to find out about these spot Bitcoin ETFs, and staying up to date with what's going on in the news is super important because that is dictating what is going on with the price of Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrency markets. If you're invested, you should be paying attention. So make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification button so you get notified every time we do go live. We will be going live every single day, and I will also try and live stream if we get that Bitcoin ETF announcement as well. I'll try and go live straight away so we can talk through that together and see what's happening as that news breaks. So make sure to stay tuned there. Let's take a look at what's going on this morning. We've got some interesting articles today, but let's take a look at the price of Bitcoin here. Let me pull the chat out so I can see what's going on in the chat. Good morning, PG. Good morning, Jason. Right now we are seeing Bitcoin is trading at $43,223, down at 2.85%. Ethereum is at $2,229, down over 4.5%. What I'm interested in looking at this morning is the Ethereum Bitcoin chart, because I'm sure a lot of you are aware I've been heavily investing in Bitcoin throughout the period of the bear market, because historically Bitcoin is a good performing asset against the rest of the markets. Typically, in general, there are obviously outliers. Compared to the rest of the markets, Bitcoin will outperform them. So that's what I've been invested in. And right now you can see, to be honest, if you look at the daily chart here for 2023, Bitcoin has outperformed Ethereum pretty consistently. And we are at lows when it comes to that Ethereum Bitcoin transfer. And I'm looking at this as a brilliant opportunity right now to start to look at the options of diversifying within the next couple of months. What I've been doing is buying Bitcoin, buying Bitcoin, buying Bitcoin. The Ethereum Bitcoin chart has been declining, meaning Bitcoin has outperformed Ethereum for this period of time. On the broader scale, obviously there have been some altcoins that have performed really, really well, but on the whole, we have seen Bitcoin outperform altcoins and Ethereum, and now we are starting to potentially see that bottom out. We've got the Bitcoin halving coming in April, and over the next couple of months, this is where I'm really starting to look to diversify a little bit more. This is the time that I've been waiting for. I want these Bitcoin ETFs to be accepted. I want to be super bullish on that. And then I want to start looking at what else is going on in the markets. Jason Smith says, with Bitcoin taking a hit, it's another opportunity to fill bags and reload positions. Yes, it definitely is. I personally try and look at the size of my Bitcoin bag over the dollar value of it. When Bitcoin takes dips like this, it's brilliant to take opportunity of that. We are being very cautious right now because we don't know what the outcome of the ETF deadline is going to be. We're going to talk about the different options today and what's happening in the markets tomorrow. There is big news for tomorrow that is looking pretty positive, but I want to talk about all of the different options today and what could actually be happening with these ETFs. So make sure to stay tuned. Before we get onto that, please don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that bell notification button. And before we speak about these Bitcoin ETFs, I want to be talking about the FOMC meetings. So the minutes have come in for this meeting. We do see these meetings every couple of weeks, and this is where the committee sits down and talks about what they're expecting for interest rates within the coming months. Now, let's just quickly explain the effect interest rates have on the price of Bitcoin. What happens is we have seen a huge amount of inflation in the US specifically. We are talking here following the problems that we had in 2020. I don't know if I can say that word. It might make YouTube hate the stream. So what happened in 2020 made inflation sky high. We hit 9.1% in July 2022 in US inflation year on year. Now for the government to stop that and try and reduce inflation, they increase interest rates. So they basically say you're going to pay more interest on your mortgages, on your loans, on any interest that we pay. The interest rate effectively changes the amount that banks charge each other to borrow money, which eventually comes out into the wider scheme of things when banks are lending money to retail investors. So it means we're all paying more interest on our loans, therefore we're spending less money, therefore the economy is shrinking and inflation is coming down. So higher interest rates typically mean lower inflation rates, and when inflation rates are high, the government uses interest rates as a tool to lower inflation by increasing those rates. So that's kind of the relationship they have. Increased inflation means higher interest rates, and higher interest rates should push down the inflation. I hope that makes sense. It all sounds a little bit complicated, but when you've got your head around it, you've got your head around it, and you'll understand it for life. So what do these interest rates mean for the markets? Higher interest rates mean people have more interest to pay on their loans, on their mortgages, so they have less liquid cash, they have less excess cash to invest into the markets. That's not only cryptocurrency, but the markets in general. Higher interest rates have historically been really bad for the markets. Now, with cryptocurrency, we can see that there is a relationship there. Higher interest rates aren't great for the markets, and we do see that relationship with the entire market there and the cryptocurrency market. So it is good to see that these interest rates are looking like they are going to be reduced. We have seen in this meeting here that the committee expects at least 3 rate cuts by the end of 2024, but the timeline isn't exactly clear. So we may get them at some point, but we don't really know when. So during the Federal Open Market Committee agreed to maintain the benchmark rate within a range of 5.25 to 5.5 at the least until the next meeting. The minutes went further into this discussion, showing that the committee anticipated 0.75 percentage point cuts by the end of 2024. Now, typically when we see these changes in the markets, we do get some volatility in the price of Bitcoin immediately after those changes. So we do need to keep an eye on these dates, because the volatility hits the markets. If you're in a high leverage trade, you may get wicked out. We used to talk about these all of the time, but it's kind of been brushed over because of these spot Bitcoin ETFs. It's still really important to keep an eye on this kind of information. And I think also I would like to point out that a lot of people that are in cryptocurrency focus on cryptocurrency, look at the cryptocurrency news, but don't look at what's going on in the general markets. And what's going on in the general markets is really important as well. So make sure to spend time doing your research on what's going on in the bigger scheme of things, because it does have an impact on the Bitcoin price as well. Even if you're only invested in Bitcoin, it's still important. So what we can see here, the uncertainty regarding the timing of these cuts was evident. The participants recognized that while the policy rate might be nearing its peak for the tightening cycle, the actual path would depend on economic developments. The minutes went on to highlight the progress made in curbing inflation, attributing the reduction over the past year to the alleviation of supply chain issues that had surged inflation in mid-2022. Balances to the labour market were also acknowledged as a key reducing agent, although this continues to be an ongoing effort. So interest rate cuts could be coming in the future. The main goal, as we all know, is to get inflation down to 2% in the US. That is incredibly difficult, but they have made a good headway towards that, coming down from 9.1% all the way to, I think we're at 3.1% in the US, correct me if I'm wrong. So something around that point. So we've made a huge amount of progress when it comes to year-on-year inflation rates in the US, but we still need to bring those interest rates down. And that is what we are waiting for right now. And we need to get that inflation down further, and then hopefully those interest rates can start to decline, because those higher interest rates, everybody feels it. Everybody feels it, whether you know or not. Let's take a look here. Jason Smith, is there a specific time that the Fed makes announcements on the fixed dates? We won't hear specifically. These are the dates that we are going to make the changes, but we will find them out. Let me type this in. I think we go to Fed interest rate US dates. Let's see if it comes up here. So federal funds effective rate. Is this the correct one? So we are looking at an interest rate. Let's see if we've got the dates. I always find it hard to find the right webpage here. Fed meeting calendars and information. So we've had the minutes from the 1st of January. When are we going to have a FOMC meeting on the 25th this is 2022. 2022, 2021. Let's see if we can find this right. Here we go. Here's the page we're looking for. Whenever I look for this page, it takes me a couple of minutes to find it. They should make it a lot easier here. Can we get rid of this, or is this Is this going to be a pain? We can see the dates down here. So we've got the first, show more, let's press show more. Here we go. So in 2024, we've got the 31st of January, we will get an interest rate decision. Interest rates are currently at 5.5% in the US. They've stayed pretty consistent here. So we will find out on the 31st of January whether they've chosen to reduce interest rates. Then we've got the 20th of March, the 1st of May, 12th of June, 31st of July, 18th of September, 7th of November, and 18th of December. So it's important to put those dates into your diary with the time as well, because that is when we are going to see volatility in the cryptocurrency markets. In fact, I'm going to leave that web page up for me so I can put those dates in my diary for the year. Let's take a look at what's going on elsewhere in the cryptocurrency space now. I think we do need to be speaking about these spot Bitcoin ETFs because there was some volatility in the markets yesterday, and I think we should be discussing that. So first of all, we'll put that one to the back of the queue. What we've seen here is BlackRock have delayed their $10 million Bitcoin purchase. We did see in some of the articles that they've created over the last couple of months that they were planning to put the proceeds of the seed creation basket into Bitcoin on January the 3rd, 2024. So they had plans to purchase $10 million worth of Bitcoin on January the 3rd, and that was yesterday. However, according to reports, the world's largest asset manager had postponed its Bitcoin purchase plan. The purchased Bitcoin would have gone for the seed creation basket, and it looks like they have postponed it until the 5th of January. According to reports, BlackRock has pushed its Bitcoin purchase date to January 5th, 2024. Now, it's still unclear why they postponed their purchase, but this is what the reports are stating right now. So we could be expecting tomorrow $10 million to be flooding into the cryptocurrency markets from BlackRock. I'm expecting some volatility here. We did see volatility yesterday off a fake report suggesting that ETFs were going to get rejected. So I do want to talk about this a little bit more and what these ETFs, what's going on with these ETFs. So we all know what the ETF is, and it's an exchange traded product for Bitcoin. The value of the ETF will be pegged to the underlying value of the assets, which is Bitcoin. So it'll be 1-to-1. It won't be like Grayscale's GBTC trust where there's a discrepancy between the prices. If you own a ETF stock, it will have the value of the underlying Bitcoin. So it won't change compared to the Bitcoin value. It will always stay the same. And that's really important. It allows people to get exposure to the cryptocurrency space without learning about centralized exchanges, without learning about self-custody. It allows institutions to get into the space, and it means that massive companies like BlackRock, VanEck, Fidelity can market Bitcoin and try and push it as an investment option, and that could bring in a huge wave of investors into the space. So why are we all excited about January the 10th? Let's discuss this. So let me pull this up. First, we want to pull up the Bitcoin ETF deadlines table. Let's pull that up because this has got all the information that we need here. Bitcoin ETF deadlines are here, so you can see that we have all of these deadlines for each application. So this is the issuer of the application there. We can see the dates they filed these applications, and then the SEC essentially have 3 deadlines by which point they need to either accept, reject, or delay their response to these applications. Now, the reason these companies need to apply with the SEC is because an ETF is a security, and the SEC is the Securities Exchange Commission. So they need to register their product with the SEC, and the SEC needs to give them the go-ahead to say, yes, you can release this product to the public, or no, you cannot. Now, the reason this stage is in place is because the SEC and other regulators are there to protect investors. The SEC needs to make sure that investors would be safe investing into this product. This is just the kind of the formalities of it. This is what you need to do to produce a security in the US and market it to investors. So this is the process that we're seeing right now. There are 3 deadlines by which you can reject, accept, or delay these ETF responses. But by the final deadline, the SEC, the regulators in the US, need to either accept or reject these ETF applications. Now, if they reject these ETF applications, they need to have a good reason as to why it's not safe for investors to invest in these products. Now, they've already rejected a spot Bitcoin ETF before. They ended up in a lawsuit and they lost that lawsuit. So a lot of people are expecting that these ETFs will get accepted by that final deadline. So what are the final deadlines here? The first one we've got is ARK 21 shares Bitcoin ETF refiling from 21 shares and ARK. The final deadline for that is the 10th of January, and that is why we are all highlighting that date in our diaries and looking forward to see a response from the SEC by the 10th of January. Now, if I look at my calendar quickly, that is next Wednesday. So that's why we're all highlighting what's going on in the markets right now, and that's why listening to what's going on in the news right now is so important. We're seeing potentially BlackRock could be buying $10 million worth of Bitcoin tomorrow, if the reports are correct, and we have that deadline on the 10th of January. So no matter what, we are going to hear something from the SEC on the 10th of January, or before, in fact. Now, if the SEC is going to allow these companies to launch their products on the 10th of January, they probably need to let those companies know a few days earlier. So those companies could be finding out on Friday, according to reports, that their ETFs can go live on Wednesday. It's not you can go live on Wednesday and then they need to spend a couple of weeks sorting it out. It's if these ETFs get accepted, these companies are ready to press the go button. So this is the opportunities that we're seeing here, and this is why we are all so excited about the markets. But we do have to be aware that there's only one final deadline on the 10th of January. The rest of the applications have a final deadline on the 14th or 15th of March. We've got one on the 19th of March, but they are all around the same dates. Now, all of these companies have been working very hard to get their applications exactly how the SEC wants them. We have seen the SEC make a slight shift, and they have been working and meeting up with these companies to try and work on these applications. These companies that have made these applications are then going away, making amendments to their applications and then refiling it with the SEC. We've seen consistent amendments and work between the SEC and these companies to help try and get these over the line. So it would be pretty shocking if they did reject these applications right now, but we need to be aware that it is still possible. We are looking at the analyst reports, and the majority of analysts are saying it's highly likely these ETFs will be accepted. And I think that's pretty clear. The last thing the SEC wants is to go to court again over rejecting an ETF and again get proven wrong, and again get proven that they are rejecting these products for false reasoning. That would be a huge, huge problem for the SEC. It would discredit them as a regulator, and it would just cause uproar. So that's the last thing the SEC want. If they're rejecting these products, they need to have found a new, strong reason as to why they should not be on the market. Now, I think there are two main scenarios here. Obviously, we have the scenario that all of these get rejected. I personally think there's a very small probability that that is the case. I think there's two more likely possibilities here. The first one being we see simultaneous acceptance of these applications on the 1st of January. Now, the reason I say simultaneous is because I think the SEC would not allow 21 shares in ARK to get their product over the line first before all of these other major companies like BlackRock, like VanEck, like WisdomTree. There is definitely a first mover advantage when it comes to these products. The ETF that goes live first has that advantage and has those retail investors pouring into the ETF because it's the only one available. So I do believe we will see simultaneous acceptance here where all of these ETFs are allowed to go live on the same day. Now, that is option one. Option one is all of these get accepted on the 10th of January. If that happens, it could be a pretty exciting day for Bitcoin. Option two is one that I don't want this one to happen, but I think it is a possibility. If the SEC can somehow find a way to delay their answer to ARK 21 shares Bitcoin ETF or reject their application for a set period of time because of a way they've made the filing, perhaps parts of the filing aren't clear enough and they need to go away and work on it some more, we could see further delays on this. Now, I know the final deadline is the final deadline and they need to make a response, but I think it is highlighted in this article as well. It is unclear. No, let's move to the bottom here. The financial watchdog may delay its decision due to technical reasons. The SEC is also in legal battles with some of the largest crypto firms, such as Coinbase, and last year the SEC partially lost its case against Ripple. So if it could find some technical reasons in the application from ARK as to why it shouldn't fully accept the ETF and approve the ETF right now, that could be a massive problem for the markets. Now, We are saying this is the final deadline, so they do need to accept or reject. But if there are some technical differences there between ARC21 shares application and BlackRock's application, VanEck's application, then we could see this go on further till the 15th of March. That is what I am considering here, and that is why I am slightly cautious with my portfolio and what's going on in the markets right now. Yes, I am super bullish on ETFs in the long term. Yes, I expect these to all be live by the 15th of March. But we do need to be cautious over this 10th of January deadline. I just wish all of the applications had their deadline on the 10th of March, because I do not see the SEC rejecting every single application and going up against all of these companies in court. And I cannot find any other reason as to why ETFs, spot Bitcoin ETFs, should not be accepted. So I do think this is a matter of when, not if. I am just cautious that because there's only one final deadline approaching, there may be some technical things that are put in the way that allow the SEC to put these off a little bit further until the 15th of March date. So that's what I'm being cautious of. But my favorite scenario here is we do see simultaneous acceptance this week. Now, a lot of people are looking at what's going on in the markets right now and saying it's too obvious that the markets are going to go up. It's too obvious that these ETFs are going to get accepted. And I do understand that viewpoint, but I do also agree that the SEC have been put in a corner and they don't really have any other choice. In my mind, it is a matter of when, not if. 10th of January, if we don't get that ARC21 shares Bitcoin ETF, we may see a massive move to the downside. But then all of that excitement will get picked back up again, ready for the 15th of March. As I said though, fingers crossed we do get acceptance simultaneously on the 10th of January for all of these applications. That would be the best case scenario for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. We've been waiting for these ETFs for long enough. As that Martini guy said on yesterday's stream, when he got into crypto back in 2014, I think it might have been, we were talking about Bitcoin ETFs then. These have not been something that's just kind of come into our brains as BlackRock applied for these applications. We've been wanting Bitcoin ETFs from the start. This is how we always knew we were going to get that global acceptance and that excitement from the rest of the markets. So far, crypto's been a tiny, tiny bubble in the grander scheme of things, but an ETF just spreads that across massively. And these have been the things and the instruments that we need to really get that acceptance of the markets. So this is something we've been talking about for years and years and years. Whether we get it on the 10th of January or the 15th of March, I personally don't think in the grand scheme of things means too much, but I just hope we get it in January so we don't have that huge move down to the downside in the markets. Let's take a look at what else is going on in the news here today though, because we have been speaking about spot Bitcoin ETFs a lot here on the channel within the last couple of days. Let me know if you have any questions about these spot Bitcoin ETFs in the chat. I can rant about them all day. I find it a very interesting topic. As I said, we've wanted one of these for so long, and I can continue to talk about them forever. If you have any questions in the chat, let me know. What have we got here other than this? We are seeing the SEC held a meeting with the NASDAQ, NYSE, and SBOE yesterday evening. So they were holding vital meetings regarding the spot Bitcoin ETFs yesterday. My microphone is not staying still at all. Let's see if we can fix that. There we go. What have we got here? Fox Business reporter Elna Territz posted on X on Wednesday afternoon, providing insight into possible last-minute checks and balances being conducted by the SEC. The SEC is holding meetings today with the exchanges, NASDAQ, NYSE, and CBOE to finalize comments on the 19B4s submitted by the Bitcoin spot ETF issuers. The statement by the reporter suggested that the SEC is still working alongside the issuers and exchanges that would list the ETF products should it accept applications this month. So as I keep saying, the SEC and like the process by which these ETFs need to be accepted seems to be flowing. The SEC is working with the issuers. We are seeing the issuers make amendments after meeting with the SEC, trying to make these applications exactly how the regulators want them. We are seeing the SEC now have discussions with the NASDAQ and other exchanges. And it all seems like we are getting the path in place to create these ETFs. I am just very, very cautious that the filing for the 10th of January may not be exactly how they want it. And if they can find some technical issues, it could be postponed until March. Now, that's the only reason I'm being very cautious right now. I'm preparing my portfolio for both scenarios. Hopefully, we do have a super bullish day on the 10th of January and we get these ETFs after a long-waited time. But I am just being cautious because it is crypto. None of us know what's going to happen, and Bitcoin likes to just mess with us, and the SEC has not had a good track record with supporting cryptocurrency. So I just think they don't like what's happening in the markets right now. So I'm just being careful. Let's see what's going on here. We can see at this point, saying the SEC rejecting it isn't just going against James Seifert, and I like it was in the early days. Now you're basically saying multiple mainstream news reporters with multiple sources on the inside of this also have it wrong. So we're saying, look, the chances of these being rejected is low, and I do honestly see that. I see the SEC being trapped in a corner right now, and their only option is accepting these ETFs unless they want to go to court and try and fight with some poor reasons as to why these products should not go live. I personally think spot Bitcoin ETFs should be live. Grayscale should have been accepted with their application a long time ago. What we have seen so far is Grayscale, a company, have tried to apply for a spot Bitcoin ETF. They've been rejected, and now major institutions have come in. Grayscale should have had that first mover advantage. They were there in the market, and their application got wrongfully rejected by the SEC, but instead we now have a huge wave of massive asset managers in the US coming forward and trying to get a piece of the pie and get that first mover advantage alongside Grayscale. So it is still unfortunate that Grayscale didn't get the approval they wanted when they first applied, but hopefully we are seeing some improvements here. Let's take a look at what else is going on in the cryptocurrency space. We've got crypto and credit cards, the proposed South Korean ban. We've got 2023 saw $2.2 billion flow into crypto investment products. We've got here's how much stock option Michael Saylor is selling to buy more Bitcoin. So what we've seen here is the co-founder and executive chairman of American business MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, has started to sell a portion of his company's shares to buy more Bitcoin. Now, he has said that he is going to sell 5,000 shares per trading day over the next 4 months. He said this in the Q3 2023 earnings call, and he did state that even after all of these sales, he would still have a very significant shareholding after the sales. He's managed to sell about $15,000 more by the end of the week, and he is looking to put that money into Bitcoin. So Saylor has remained keen on topping his Bitcoin stash over the last 4 years. His belief in the potential of the leading digital asset led MicroStrategy to become the first publicly traded company to buy Bitcoin as part of its capital allocation strategy in August 2020. And now Michael Saylor is looking to sell some of those shares to invest in Bitcoin himself as well. Let's see what's going on here. Into the Cosmos says, everybody like her broadcast. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. We do these live streams every single weekday, and I really appreciate it. If you can, share the stream with your friends, share it on social media, help push the stream out to more people. It is exactly what we need to see in the markets. 2024 is going to have so many changes for cryptocurrency, and being on top of the news is so important. So as I keep saying, make it your New Year's resolution to tune into these live streams every single day. It will make a difference to your portfolio. It will make a difference to your decision making. The news is highly influential to the markets right now, so you do need to stay up to date with what's going on. And I research these markets every single minute of every single day, and I wrap it up for you in a half-hour to 1 hour live stream. So if you come here and stay tuned every single day, you will learn a lot from these live streams. Let's take a look at what else is going on here. Matrix's report has been dismissed by Eric Balachinas on spot ETF rejection. So the Bloomberg analyst questioned whether it was backed by evidence or opinion. We did see yesterday a report outlined from Matrix Port believed the deadlines in January would be met with rejection by the regulator, and that the ETFs were more likely to be approved in Q2. So that is looking at January, February, March. May, June, July, actually. So that's even past the March deadline. If there is any denial by the SEC, we could see cascading liquidations as we expect most of the $5.1 billion in additional perpetual long Bitcoin futures to be outwound. Matrix Ports also put a target of $36,000 to $38,000 upon the SEC's rejection. However, Matrix Ports acknowledged that the conditions in 2024 may see Bitcoin end the year higher than where it began. Now, this Bloomberg analyst has questioned this report and said the senior ETF analyst commented on the report by stating, "People tagging me like crazy on this rejection report. We have heard nothing to indicate anything but approval, but I want to give the guy the benefit of the doubt, so I'm asking if he has any sources or if he is just speculating." The guy he mentioned in his X post was an account named 10x Research, who was also the author of the Matrix Port report. The senior ETF analyst asked Marcus if he was basing this off any sourcing, or is it just opinion takes on things? As you can see here, people are very defendable. People are defending their own opinions on what's going on here. So far, we have seen really positive news and suggestions that we are going to see ETF approval. We just can't be 100% certain, and I think we needed to highlight that on today's stream. We do not know what the SEC is going to say. Yes, they have been cooperating with issuers. Yes, they have made a sort of U-turn in that decision, and yes, the issuers have been doing everything they can to amend their filings to make sure they are a success. We are now seeing the SEC have talks with the exchanges like the NASDAQ, so things do seem to be lining up and suggesting that we do see the acceptance of the ETFs within 2024, but we do need to be aware the SEC do still have the option to reject these applications if they see fit. So let's take a look at the last article here today. Arbitrum TVL hits 2.5. So Arbitrum's transaction volume hits $2.5 billion, while Arbitrum token hits new all-time high. So the network experiences a new influx of volume and the token moves to the upside exactly as it should. Arbitrum token nearly broke the $2 level on Wednesday, marking a historic high, all while locking in a total value locked of over $2.5 billion. Sorry, TVL is token value locked, not transaction volume. That didn't make sense, did it? Let's take a look at Arbitrum token actually. Let's go to the Crypto Saving Expert website. Let's go to Arb here and see what is in store. Arbitrum is it's up 6.5% here. If we zoom all the way out, we can't do too much on there. Let's do it on here. Arb USDT. You can see this is actually, that was the full chart there on Crypto Saving Expert. That was why. This is a new high for the token. So really, really nice to see there. Let's go back to Ethereum and see what's going on with Ethereum there. So Ethereum has similarly to Bitcoin had a bit of a pullback following the crash yesterday. Completely normal. We have seen a nice bounce here. Ethereum came all the way down to $2,100, but it's pretty nice to see a retest of that level. That level was a nice level of we had a nice level of resistance here, but we also had a nice level of resistance here. So it's really hit between that zone and used it as a level of support twice now. So we've got it there and we've got it there. So that's actually a pretty confident level for Ethereum. Now, it's only confident if the ETFs get accepted. If the ETFs get rejected, none of these lines matter. That's what I want to be aware of. Somebody's just said in the chat, don't trip by the dip. I want to be very, very, I want to say here that when the markets go down, it's so much easier to feel fearful, and you have to kind of change your perspective and think red is a buying opportunity and green is a selling opportunity. When we're looking at the markets today, we all had a little bit of a wake-up call yesterday that the ETF application may not come in as we want it to, but I am still expecting, I am still feeling the exact same as I did 2 days ago before yesterday's dip. The SEC have very little grounds as to why they should reject these ETFs. We do not know what could happen. We do know that the SEC have a history of not liking the cryptocurrency space, specifically the chairman, Gary Gensler, so we do need to be cautious that it is an option, but the SEC seems to have had a change of heart, is working with these issuers and is doing everything they can to get the applications up to scratch so they can be accepted, so we will just have to wait and see what happens. The major news of today is that BlackRock are reportedly buying $10 million worth of Bitcoin tomorrow. That's the main story of the day and something that we all should be aware of. Be very cautious when it comes to fake news on the internet, make sure you are always finding your sources. As we saw yesterday, fake news can alter the price of Bitcoin very, very quickly and cause huge changes in the prices. A lot of us are expecting ETF acceptance. Hopefully that's what we get, but we will be staying up to date with the latest cryptocurrency news. Tomorrow, we will be back at 11 a.m. discussing this as well. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin price first before we turn off today's stream. So we can see on the 4-hour chart, we did see a massive dip there. So let's take a look at what's going on here. If we take the wicks from here to, in fact, let's see if we can do this even better. If we take the body from here to here, you can see we have a nice level of support across there. We also have one, I believe, that comes right across there. And then we have some levels of support, resistance as well. So if we're looking here, you can see that was a clear resistance, as clear as day. If you take a look at that level and draw that across, that was a level of resistance that we touched before we were heavily rejected. What you can see is we are still within this channel. We have not broken to the downside. What we have seen is we did break, unfortunately, we had thankfully actually broken to the upside for a short period of time before we have now been rejected back into this range. Right now I'm looking at a level of support of $41,900 and a level of resistance at $43,760. But Bitcoin ETF news can massively mean that we just ignore all of these lines and just tank or soar. We don't know which way it's going to go. We don't know what day we are going to get this information on. We just all need to be prepared for some volatility. We all know now that there are reports that BlackRock are buying $10 million worth of Bitcoin tomorrow. That's positive news. It should, in theory, make people excited for these ETFs. But with yesterday's scare, people are a little bit more cautious today, I think. But that's all we have for today. So thank you very much for tuning in. As always, I hope you have enjoyed. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. We do these live streams every single weekday. And if you want to stay up to date with the markets, make sure to tune in. I work on this for 24 hours a day and I summarize it all for you in a 1-hour live stream. So make sure to tune in and help educate yourself on the space. That's all for today, though. Thank you very much for watching. And I will see you